Yeah, so it seems we are live now. Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on whichever part of the world you're joining from. There's a hello from Mohit. Well, oops. Okay. Hello everyone. Good morning. Why am I
Good
hearing
evening,
myself?
good
One second.
afternoon.
Okay.
Hello
Okay,
everyone,
I'm
good
hearing myself.
morning.
Just a
Why
second.
am
I
I
need to get
hearing?
that
Good
out.
afternoon.
Cool. So that was me who had opened this tab to check if we are live on a particular platform, and seems we are live. Okay. So with me, I have Akash and Rahul, and I'm Mudit from Pathway. We welcome you all to this particular kickoff session for the boot camp. It is slightly important. It's going to be very tactical in nature. Like we'll cover what all we'll be learning in the boot camp in a very succinct manner. This being said, it's going to be very conversational in a way. You can totally ask your questions via comments. Like for example, we see a hi from Mohit. So hi to Mohit. And okay, there's a question from Siddharth. Will we get a recording? We'll answer that towards the end of the session. Okay, but okay, cool. Skipping that part. So right now, first off, let me quickly say hi to my co-hosts Rahul and Akash, who are both on mute, by the way.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, hi folks. So I see like there are folks joining from various campuses. For example, there's definitely Divyanshu saying hi from IIT BHU. There's a FLB Mortals 2.0 who's from some campus. I'm not sure which one, but yeah. So let's get started quickly. I'll share my screen. We'll get it right into it. But to do a quick introduction, I'm Mudit. I'm from Pathways Growth Team. With me, I have Akash, who's from Club of what is COPS? What is PS? Maybe you can.
It's clever programmers. The
Okay,
S is
okay, got
just
it.
for.
Okay, so he's from CoPS IIT BHU Varanasi. Like let us put it that way. And we have Rahul, who's from IIT Kanpur's programming club. See, that's a simple name. But yeah, and I believe both of them are leading their respective groups at campuses along with a very stellar team, of course. And yeah, thanks for everyone who's putting hello. I'll quickly share my screen. We'll dive right into it. Um, okay, so we are right now heading into the 3 week winter LLM bootcamp brought to you by a bunch of folks actually. We have COPS Club of Programmers, Programming Club, then SNTC, ITBH, IT Kanpur, and Patho. Okay, that's the quick intro. But like, let's understand whom are we learning with because that's a quick thing. Before that, let's quickly introduce the organizers. So maybe Akash, you can quickly introduce COPS, ITBHU. Rahul could do that for IT Kanpur and Programming Club, and I
Sure.
can do that for Pathway.
Sure. IIT BHU is basically one of the IIT's Indian Institute of Technology from Varanasi, and CoPS is just a bunch of group of people who love programming and coffee from Varanasi, the same institute.
Okay, nice. I think a programming club IIT Kanpur has a similar description though, but maybe Rahul, you can give a quick context around what it is. Maybe
Yeah,
beyond
so
loving
IIT,
coffee.
yeah, I actually don't like coffee. So yeah, IIT Kanpur is also one of the IITs, like one of the 22 IITs, and P Club IIT Kanpur is a group of 29 people who like coding and like anything that has to do with computers. We also have a dating app of our own, like if that's what. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a dating app of our own.
yeah, I saw that. It's quite cool that engineers have really taken up the initiative right now to solve real world problems, like real world problems. But yeah,
I mean, the
uh,
ratio still sucks, so yeah, we are not actually solving anything.
yeah, correct, correct. It's like yeah, correct, correct, correct. Okay, that's a totally different topic which we can dive into, especially given the gender diversity in this particular call, which is not ideal. But let's park that aside. Let's move ahead. But thanks for introducing your respective organizations. For those of you who do not know what IIT is, since we described that a couple of times, and I understand there are people who are not from India in this particular cohort, a small sect of folks. So first off, bienvenidos, welcome to this particular boot camp. IITs is like the Ivy Leagues of India, simply said. They are like the premier groups that we love to partner with at Pathway. And talking about that, a quick introduction of Pathway would also be helpful here. It's an open source platform. It's not an edtech if you are confusing us to be one. We've actually seen a lot of people who have learned pathways frameworks from both the campuses, BHU and Kanpur, in the past. But yeah, it's the fastest data processing engine supporting unified workflows for batch streaming and LLM applications. Batch and streaming, if you do not know, let me give a very college specific example. Let's say you are accumulating all your clothes to be washed towards the end of the week all at once. That is batch. And as and when they're coming, then and there you are washing it. That's streaming, like processing data in real time. And essentially what this does is you end up making machines learn the way we humans do, like in real time, right? We don't, as humans, we don't pile everything to be learned at once. That's what streaming is all about. It's built on Rust, exposed via Python. So when you're coding on pathways frameworks, you're essentially writing Rust workflows while using Python. So you don't need to learn Rust to be able to do that. And a cool way to describe pathway, especially within the audience of this, most of us are from academia, like especially folks in this particular cohort. So pathway includes people who have been very deep into academia. There, like barring 3 or 4 people, which includes me, everybody is a PhD with some cool experience at labs like Meta, Google Brain, etc. And those are the ones who have actually, you're seeing them as educators for this particular boot camp. And yeah, half of them are like super awesome competitive coders. Like they have all been finalists at something like Hacker Cup, Code Jam, or even medalists at some very renowned competitions, be it like ICPC, IOI. You know of them pretty well. So that's a quick intro of Pathway. And essentially, why we are doing these boot camps is very simple. First off, we love folks at IIT Kanpur BHU. They have been super awesome. And as an open source framework maker, we see it very clearly that if you want to be one of the if you want to be one of the leaders in the segment, like you really want to make a difference out there, it's very important that we empower the change makers of tomorrow, which is basically you all sitting in this particular cohort. Interestingly, from India, a lot of startups have emerged from folks who have been recent grads. So we see the power, like the kind of impact you can create. And this boot camp essentially is like a platform that we're creating for you to go ahead and create the impact. Okay. And to give you a very quick, overview going forward of whom you're learning this particular coursework with. Okay, so the registrations are still open because interestingly we have a break at IIT BHU and IIT Kanpur for the same reason that there's a semester examination coming up, mid-sem examination. Okay, so there'll be a break from 12th to 26th, I think so. And why 12th? Because I think your exams are starting at around 18th or 19th. Okay, but the thing is, uh, there's someone spamming in the comment section, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll simply find a way to hide that. But yeah, so I was simply saying that, yeah, exams are starting around 18th or 19th, but we are keeping a break week in advance so you can prepare for it and it doesn't end up hindering in your preparation. Okay. And along with that, this also means that a significant portion of the curriculum, which is quite interesting in nature, has been kept towards the latter half. So it doesn't end up overwhelming you. Let's say we publish this within a short framework that is existing right now, like before the exams, which is before 12th. That's like, 3-4 days from now. So we're not rushing into it for that reason. We have published the prerequisites and the basic modules with the exact dates. We'll see that right now. Um, but yeah, this means that if anyone wants to join, they can pretty much join till a timeline of around, let's say, 26th or 27th. The earlier they join, the better, of course, because of incentives around being up to date with the communications and also preparing well for the prerequisites. There's not a lot of prerequisites, but still, yeah, and folks are joining from around the world. We have definitely folks from IIT Kanpur and IIT BHU Varanasi. Most of the folks are from there. Um, and then we have folks from other IITs, some other universities like Georgia Institute of Technology, NUS, and more. Um, Most of us are like from undergrad backgrounds, like in the cohort, but there are folks who are, when I say undergrad, as in undergrad by basically bachelor's program, and there are people who are pursuing masters or PhD. They've already done it, like 200 plus of them. This composition is expected to change, of course, as we progress into it. Um, and most common reasons for learning, like all of you who have registered for the boot camp would have mentioned this. I think the reason I'm sharing this is so you know whom are you learning this with. It's basically Yeah, the most common reasons for learning is curiosity around generative AI, excitement around RAG, and the ability to build an open source application by the end of the course. Technically, all of these three will be fulfilled. One very common thing that we saw was was around prices, like not very common, but yeah, around 5 or 6 of you have been super candid enough to mention that you're joining for the prices towards the end of it, which is cool enough. Like, it's okay, we understand whatever drives the motivation and takes you to the finish line, so be it. It's okay. Cool. Um, we are not seeing any questions so far. We are seeing a lot of hello, hi, and some random comments that have come in, which Akash has been, or Akash, or I think Rahul has been kind enough to pause for a while. But we'll go ahead. If you have any questions, just put it. So we'll answer it. It is quite essential that we end up answering key doubts that you may have. A very quick introduction around the industry overview. Like, we all know what LLMs are, right? Like, for example, if you don't know, something like ChatGPT is an LLM. Okay, like GPT of it, ChatGPT, or Google Bard, Cloud A, everything. There's a question around how do we access the modules. That's coming in less than 5 minutes. So yeah. So the point being, like, interestingly, there was a report which said that more than, I think, 40% or something like that, C-suite executives right now, they use generative AI, and that is a very strong indicator of how much the world is rushing towards implementing generative AI. But if you look around yourself, if you talk to your seniors, how many of them are actually aware of the way you can go and implement it? The number of people is slightly smaller, and this makes it a very big gap that needs to be fulfilled in the industry. And technically, if you're able to combine it with your innovative skills, you are in a very right position in the very right time to make an impact. Okay. So and yeah, one more thing that you might have noticed is that in the curriculum you would have seen the word real time some in a few places. Okay. So real time and streaming both are very I see questions coming. That is great. So just put that across. That's good enough. So we'll pick them up. But yeah, so the point being, like, this is the right timing to learn these things. And yeah, companies need it, they don't have the skill set. And yeah, around streaming and real time, the point being around that is, like, essentially, recently, like, the CIO of Goldman Sachs was asked in one of the interviews around what he thinks is one of the key industrial transformations or key technology trends that we are heading towards. And the thing he mentioned was moving from batch to streaming, basically processing data in real time, is going to be one of the biggest things. And that also is very closely knit to the essence of LLMs. When people are working with ChatGPT, they wanted to work with their data, with their real world information. Okay. So if you're able to combine the both and give it to solve some very specific problems, you're actually creating an impact, as a founder, as an employee, as an intern, anything. Okay. And yeah, and there are problems like, yeah, companies need to ensure data privacy, security, optimal costs. Okay, all these are very common issues that companies run into. And there's an extensive manual effort, training required. Like, for example, their team of developers till yesterday, uh, for example, if they're not working on something like vector index, on vectors, on or recommender systems, they might not have never interacted with vector embeddings at all. For I mean, that's the case with many companies. And similarly, like, privacy, real-time vector indexing, and all those things are a pain point which are to be solved, which you can pretty much be able to do by the end of the course. Okay. Okay, there's a slight repetition here. Quick overview of the course. So um, there are a few questions around prerequisites. Okay. For example, Pratik has asked, what are the prerequisites? Shayondeep Mandal has asked, should we start consistently preparing for prerequisites already? Okay. So yeah, the answer to that is prerequisites. First of all, let's answer that. The prerequisites for the bootcamp are mentioned in a specific module, but I'll answer it as well. It's primarily Pythonic, proficiency. You should know Python. Ideally, like, pathways, frameworks, and frameworks that are most of the frameworks that you see around, they work with Python 3.11. So you should know 3.10, 3.11. A lot of frameworks do not work. For example, TensorFlow, as I understand, the last we checked, it doesn't work with 3.12. So it's okay. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of difference. You should know Python 3. Basic information being said. Second, because if you would have noticed, these small versioning differences can end up impacting some very important and popular library, right? So to avoid this, a very common thing that we use in the industry is called containerization. which is where something like Docker comes into picture. Okay, so a container is like a box where, let's say, you would have heard this particular problem saying that it works on my system but doesn't work on yours. That is because the things that you have installed in your laptop are different from the one that um, I have, or the makers of a particular framework have mentioned. So to avoid any random dependency issues, or to avoid random debugging related challenges, the best option to go with is to use something like Docker. That's why it is not a mandatory prerequisite, but it's very, very good to have. Okay. um yeah. For Docker, we have already mentioned the resources that you can visit, and that also answers the question that Shavandeep is asking: should we start preparing for the prerequisites already? They can. It's not so overwhelming in nature. Like, technically, one can gain a lot of expertise around containerization in itself, but it's okay even if you are like in the even if you're covering what is mentioned in the coursework and are googling quite aggressively, you will be able to complete it very much. We have seen people from first years also, freshman years in undergrad, bachelor's programs completing this. So you all can do it. The course starts with introduction to LLMs and Gen AI, so which gives you a hint that yeah, even if you know Python, you will get you will be able to grasp most of the things. It starts with intro to LLMs and Gen AI. Then we jump into word vectors and vector embeddings. Why vector embeddings and word vectors? It's like the building block of large language models and RAG. RAG is retrieval augmented generation. Okay. Um, then we jump into prompt engineering and token limits. After we have covered prompt engineering and token limits, we jump into RAG and enterprise LLM architecture, and then into hands-on development. Let's quickly understand this. We know what word vectors is, like the building block. It's basically a numeric representation of text in a way that it captures semantic information. Okay, you have noticed, right? When you search on something like Google Bard, it's not like the typical old age Google search where keyword has to be matched. If keyword is not matched, it won't come. It's not like that. Why? Because it is so Bard may not be a great example, but something like Perplexity AI, let's take that. Okay. Or let's take an example of any typical semantic search, like even in ChatGPT, let's say the training data is there. If you ask it a question, it doesn't look for a keyword match. It basically goes by a semantic search, like it tries to match the meaning. Why? Because the text is converted into vectors format and put together in such a format that it's very easy to find and calculate that this is the next thing that should be given. Okay, so vectors is how LLMs are built upon. Like, they use vectors, and that's why what happens is whenever you want something like ChatGPT, let's say you wanted to work with an external data that is on your cloud or on your application, then you will have to store that data also into vector format. Okay, like, simply said, it's like having information in the same format so you can retrieve it when it is needed, right? So that is what is word vectors. Then we jump into prompt engineering and token limits. Prompt engineering is how you go and interact with something like ChatGPT. Okay, again, teaching prompt engineering is like teaching English, by the way. Like, you can it's like teaching English, in the sense that we can tell you the basic rules, but you have to use it day in day out, and to be able to become expert at it. This being said, in a very practical sense, if you are expert in prompt engineering, most likely you will not have to raise any doubts to us, because frameworks that we're using here, they are quite popular ones. You will be able to find answers for them on your own, using the popular tools that are out there. Token limits, what is that? Like, that is quickly mentioned in the course as well. But to give a quick context, if you've ever typed on ChatGPT and got this response saying that the message is very long, you would have seen that, right? That is because of token limits. So that is something that is covered here, and how that is addressed within enterprises. So, for example, that is where the introduction of RAG comes into picture. Okay, so let's say you have something like ChatGPT, yeah, right, and you're the CEO of Netflix. Um, yeah, let's say you're the CEO of Netflix, and you want to ask, like, tell me how is my sales numbers growing within Varanasi or Kanpur or Uttar Pradesh or any specific part of the world, right? Now that particular information is specific to Netflix, proprietary knowledge base, right? It's not exposed to ChatGPT's training data, but the CEO wants an answer. So how do you do that? Now, one option is that, hey, you copy paste the entire Excel sheet, paste it, like simple control C, control V, command C, command V, and you ask ChatGPT to give that answer. That's one way to go about it. But there are two challenges. One, you are exposing very important data on a very public platform. Second is that So if the data is very big, it will give that message that we talked about, right? That the input is very long, it couldn't process it. Or let's take another example. Right now, most of us from India, so we have this e-commerce application called as Myntra, right? So Myntra or Amazon, right? They have an option of chat. Okay, now let's say within Myntra chat, you want to ask, like, give me the red sneakers that went on discount over the past 1 week. Let's say that's a good way to ask questions, right? You don't have to apply those crazy filters or dabble with random UI issues on mobile or web, whatever be it, right? You can simply ask it on chat and get it. But how does it get it? Because the product repository, the stock repository, the discount, that is changing on a real time. But that needs to be made. So as an Amazon developer, as a Myntra developer, how do you go about making it? So use something like RAG, that is retrieval augmented generation. And then comes a picture around enterprise LLM architecture. So you do that to build such an application. And that's when the last part also comes in. Once you have covered the theory, we go into the hands-on development. So let's take the case that you are not even a programmer. Till that section, you can pretty much understand everything that is covered till this point. You may not be able to develop, but you will still be able to understand with some very key concepts around the world of LLMs and RAG. Okay, RAG is retrieval augmented generation, by the way. Okay, so that is like something that you will get to learn. And if you know Python, you can pretty much end up going to the last mile as well. Okay, I am seeing a few questions. I'll pick that right away. Um, but before that, let me quickly also jump in. The reason I'm not answering that question right away is because it's answered ahead. So, and RAG, like, because it's one of the key things around the boot. One more thing, yeah, very important. Within the curriculum, you will see something called as bonus resources mentioned from time to time. Now, what is bonus resource or a bonus module, bonus section? That would basically mean that these are those sections which have a slightly higher prerequisite. I mean, it would require you to know more than Python or Docker, for example, or just Python for that matter. Let's take Python. So bonus resources require you to know more than Python. For example, a bonus section around transformers architecture would require probably you to know about backpropagation at least. So I mean, these are just random examples. So if you're not covering the bonus section and bonus modules, you will still be able to complete all the quizzes, all the hands-on project, which is a mandatory requirement, by the way. You'll be able to build that. um, just that if you are already into AI and data science and deep learning, some of those bonus resources will give you a lot of perspective on top of what you already know. Okay. Yeah. And this is a cool way of describing RAG. Like, this is something that has been asked to us in the past. Like, how would you describe RAG? RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Let's say you take the example of Myntra chat, right? So what you would do is you're not going and fine tuning the LLM itself. You're simply retrieving the most relevant information. Let's say this is the entire product catalog. You're storing that in vector format, and when the time has come, you're just getting what is needed. So you can go and copy paste it. Okay. So that is what RAG also does. You will get this meme in a lot more clarity as we enter into this. But essentially, that is why it is called retrieval augmented generation. Like, you're retrieving, augmenting what the user has given. For example, give me sneakers. So in the backend, what is it retrieving? The data of sneakers that went on discount. Or in the case of Netflix CEO, it is retrieving the sales numbers, right? Without showing on the front end, on the chat interface. And then it is writing on the paper, it is giving the output to you. That is what RAG is. That is what you will also be able to build. You can pretty much go and build advanced RAG applications as well, which many people have done in the past. We'll also give you some examples of projects that students have made, so you can be very confident that hey, you can also do it. But the point essence here is quite simple, that we'll take you in an incremental process. Like, you won't be given the task of building that Myntra Amazon discounts finder app, but within the course you'll know how to build it yourself, by the way. And you can build some more powerful things as well. We have seen some very crazy things that are built by folks. Okay, so this is the link for the coursework. Where when I say coursework, it's not the registration link. If you have not registered, make sure you're registering, because it is necessary for giving you awards, certificates, everything, and even keeping you updated with communication. Okay, so before we move any further, let me quickly pick questions. Okay. So Akash and Rahul, by the way, if you see any question that I should be picking, just simply let me know. Okay. Yeah, there's a question: will assignments and tasks be given just to keep a check on learning during the progress? So when you say just to keep a check, that's I mean, I'm not sure which direction you're hinting towards, Okay, it is there to check your progress and also give you the confidence that you're learning primarily. Okay. The task project is very must have. Like you can't simply end up replicating or copying a project or not building anything. You have to build something. That's a must have. Okay. For the particular boot camp, everybody has to build a project that has to be unique. You can try to retrofit, like you can, if you see a solution, you can try to fit in a different use case in a similar manner. Okay, like for example, let's say you see an Amazon discounts app finder, right? You can build it for some similar use case where instead of discounts it is finding something else in some other use case. Okay, or you can go even a step further. For example, we have seen projects being built like one of the students, a group of students from NIT Trichy, which is an Indian college again. What they had built is an application that can help governments during the time of disaster to find nearby shelters for people who are in distress. So you can simply ask that, okay, the query has come in, it will basically take that their location data, will find the most relevant NGOs nearby or shelter homes nearby, and a few other information around weather, everything, and will give that in a natural response. So a normal operator can simply convey it. A cool application, right? Or one more student, what they had built is a program, an application that will basically help project managers. So it will integrate with something like Trello or Asana, okay, and integrate with Slack plus RAG, RAG frameworks, LLM frameworks. And using that within Slack, you can simply ask that, okay, give me, people who are not having a lot of tasks on their plate, or tell me how I can further optimize it. A cool thing to be coming from a student, right? So these are things that you'll be able to build. These are must have. Of course, you have to build uh, a basic application at least. Okay. And one more thing apart from that is that your applications will have to be open source. They will have to have a clear readme. Without a clear readme, they will not be accepted. That is all mentioned within the curriculum, so it won't be a last minute surprise to you, don't worry. There's a question, sir. I'm a C++ programmer who's learning Python, especially for this boot camp. What should be my aim for knowledge in Python? So maybe Rahul or Akash, you can take this up. It's a very generic question.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you can just watch one of the common Python tutorials on the YouTube, and if Sendex has one of the popular ones, you can just go through it once, and once you get a good hold of what Python is and whatnot, then I think with a fair bit of knowledge of what you're dealing with when it comes to LLMs and everything, you would be able to follow through with the bootcamp.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And see, Python, you're talking about some extremely popular languages here, right? So you can simply end up resorting to ask ChatGPT or any of those tools, GitHub Copilot, whichever you have access to. Ask them doubts that you may come across, right? These LLMs are quite good when it comes to finding things like bugs or syntax errors, interestingly. So you can always use it for that. And in terms of learning, as Akash rightly mentioned, you just cover the basics, that should be fine. Um, I mean, anyway, language is like a mode of communication after all, so it's okay. Um, could you clarify a little bit about the quizzes and assignments? I didn't quite notice any details about it in the module. That's because no quiz has been published so far. There's a module that will be published by early tomorrow or by tonight. So that will, towards the end of that, there'll be a very basic quiz number one. So can cover it. Essentially, the quizzes have to be completed before the bootcamp closes, and even the project. Okay, so that is it. And is proficiency in Git required for the project, or it will be covered in the boot camp? You don't have to be an expert in, like, there's not much to be learned there. I mean, sorry, I'm not undermining any particular field. But yeah, basic knowledge should be fine. And use Google search when needed. And within the coursework, this being said, you will find some very basic Git commands and all those things which are needed for you to go and put it out there. Or else, if you're getting stuck, if something is not within the coursework, again, you will be able to find it on your own. So this boot camp, as you can understand, is not meant to spoon feed you in any manner. Not that we're throwing you right into the swimming pool right away. It will be a gradual progress, but still, it's very important that you also put in your equal efforts. You try to find answers on your own, because that really empowers you. Okay. Will this be recorded? Yeah, it's on YouTube. It will be recorded. Yes. But good that you're asking questions right now, because that really helps. So yeah, that's a very important point put up by Rahul. Thanks, Rahul. Yeah, Python is a very fairly easy language. Yeah, correct. If you're comfortable with C, C++, learning Python shouldn't be difficult. Um, there's a similar question around that you are doing CP with, you know, with the help of C, C++, that should be fine. I mean, yeah, that should be fine. We'll be able to catch up pretty soon. Should not be an issue. So this is the coursework link. I'll give you a quick walkthrough also of the platform so you know. Okay. By the way, very important. I hope you all are registered. You all have joined the Discord channel primarily because quite essential that it's quite essential for you to be there because that's where you can ask your doubts. All of us will be there, so make sure you're there as well. Okay. And the first thing, like, so the thing is that whenever a module is released, you will find it here on the left side. Okay. Um, a good way to show your support, by the way, which is something that we very strongly have been requesting. I mean, it's your call after all. But if you can start these repos as a way to show your support to Pathways works, that will be great. It's again a sign for us to see that you really trust what we're doing and you appreciate it. Um, yeah. Then the next thing around course timelines and structure, some essential information here. First off, it's hybrid, like it's all primarily recorded. There will be a couple of live sessions if they are, like for example, this is one of those. So you'll be notified about it well beforehand. Okay. You must register. Make sure while registering your name is very correct because that is what will be printed on your certificate and that will not be changed later on. So your name must be correct. If you are unsure, better go and register again. But make sure name is correct. Okay. We fetch that information from there itself. As it says, there's examinations happening, so there'll be a break from 25th to from 12th to 25th. Okay. In terms of prices, yeah, there are some prices that you'll be getting. For example, everyone who completes a boot camp will get certificates, t-shirts, swags upon course completion. Okay, that will be cool. And the t-shirts are a cool one. We spent quite some time designing it. And for the top 9 teams, you'll like the top 3 will get Xbox controller, phone camera lens, JBL waterproof speakers, all those things, fancy items. In the project submission bit, you can team in like this is something that Rahul and Akash came up with. Brilliant idea. You can you can make a team of 2 also towards the end to complete the project and make something which is probably very very awesome. Just surprises possibly. And this is like a very small incentive, but overall, like, it's a good thing to have a collaborative project on your profile as well. Also very important, um, that we'll also be showcasing a few top projects on Pathways official blog. So I think it's our way to support you, because the way I personally look at it is like it's a cool thing to show on your resume that the makers of frameworks are saying that your project is cool. It's a good thing to show. So that's another thing. In terms of syllabus, right? This is You'll find the dates here. We have already covered what we are going to cover in that small diagram. The nitty-gritties are mentioned here. There'll be a couple of additions maybe around RAG, but most of the things are here. None of that will end up overwhelming you. In terms of the release dates, they are quickly mentioned here, like release date 8th Feb, 9th Feb is today. So 9th Feb, by like 9th Feb or by latest by 10th Feb, you will get it. And then you have prompt engineering that will be released. There is no module release if you look at it. Okay. Refresher module, just to give you a quick refresher once you come back. Then LLM and RAG architecture, some real important stuff around here, and then the hands-on project. Um, in terms of deadlines, I think you'll have a 3-week timeline. We are into 1 week right. Like this is the we will be looking at 1 week before the boot camp, before the quizzes, and 2 weeks after the quiz. So that is how it is structured. Okay, the dates and all will be very clearly mentioned. Bonus resources section that is mentioned here. Educators bit, you can see these are like cool people who have made this happen. Like some of my colleagues who were very kind enough to chip in their knowledge resources on a timely basis when we're putting this together. This Adrian, you can read about their credentials here itself, and can go forward with that. There are also people who have helped us, who are not a part of Pathway, who have helped us put this together. So we are quite thankful to them. So yeah, and they have their own work, so you can check them out as well. Okay. And yeah, that's about Pathway. In case you want to know, it's a good thing to know as a engineer anyway. Okay. Um, how much how much advanced tool that you end up building towards the end of the bootcamp, that's up to you. But yeah, knowing this is a great enough skill to have. Like if you're able to build a streaming plus LLM application, that's killer. Okay, like when I say streaming, just take a real time application. If you're able to build that, that's good. Okay. um, these are some action items. This is the link for Discord community. Make sure you're doing that. You can drop a quick introduction in the introductions channel, and that can go beyond the bootcamp. Like, that's one way of saying that, hey, I'm here for the bootcamp. That's great. We love that. But if you can go maybe beyond that, talk about who you are as a person, what's your interest, where you come from. Like, that will be a cool thing for people to know. The Discord server has some absolutely senior people from the industry who are known faces, writers, and folks who are quite pioneers in the industry of data and AI. So put a description that helps you build a good introduction with them if needed in the future. And then there's a dedicated channel for the bootcamp. If there is any query that is specific to the bootcamp, it must come on this channel and not some other channel. Okay, because that will help us know that this is where you're coming from and will help us resolve it. This answers your question, Pushkar. Where is the Discord link? It's in this particular thing. This QR code that you saw, within that itself, you will see this particular Discord link as well. Prerequisites for a head start. This is where it mentions it. Okay, Python proficiency, familiarize yourself with generative AI tools. What it means is that start using them if you're not using it already. I think all of you are. If you're not using it, start using it. Explore Docker. Knowing any basic stuff around Docker will help you be a lot more confident. I think it's primarily to do with confidence when I see with students. Otherwise, Docker is a really powerful piece of technology. You can go a lot into it. But for a beginner, for starters, this particular thing should be enough. And know what stream processing is, again, very important. There's a very basic blog that I put up while I think my colleagues at Pathway can write a very very powerful blog with their expertise, but I just put across a very basic information. Do you know what that is? Okay, give it a quick look so you know what this is. It's important to know. It's an important piece of technology that most professionals in the industry do not know about. So cool thing to know. These are the modules again. So there's a bonus resource, for example. Now it will cover, I think, some jargons around encoder decoder architecture. That's why it's a bonus resource. So yeah, and whenever a module is released, you will see it here. The quiz will be mentioned here itself. Okay, cool. That's it. There is no other question. I see there are folks saying hi, hello to Rahul and Akash. So yeah, thanks for that. So with that, we are towards the end of the session, and a very warm welcome to all of you in this boot camp. We hope you make the best out of it. Be patient. Again, very important thing. Yeah, know that we are working in a distributed setup. I'm the only person working from an Indian time zone right now, from Pathway. Even folks like Rahul, Akash, their team have they are quite dedicated enough to help you out, but they have their own work to do, right? So make sure that you're being very patient, especially over weekends or holidays, and you, more importantly, are finding your answers yourself. Remember that that's a very important practice. If you're finding issues around a framework, let's say you are finding issues around StreamYard or Docker or GPT APIs or Llama 2, anything, or even Pathways frameworks. Okay, the best idea is to go in their respective communities as well. One of the things that you're learning here is also how you can interact with communities which may not be at your campus, right? Pathway folks are not at your campus, but you're interacting with them. So similarly, you should try to interact with relevant communities, ask doubts there, engage with them, share your projects as much as you can. It's something that, like, building and learning in public is a great way to make an impact. So with that note, welcome everyone, and all the best. Rahul, Akash, any comments from you before we close?
Nothing. I just wish them all a luck, and I hope they will all have great fun with us.
Same, like maybe some cool projects at the end. I hope to see. So yeah, you
Genuinely.
can
Yeah,
welcome about me.
yeah. Thanks everyone. Cool. Yeah, that's the actually the prime thing. Let's surprise us with your cool projects. Show what you can do. Okay, cool. Thank you everyone, and have a great day, evening ahead, whatever. Thank you so much. Bye.